Yeah.
As repatriation from Nigeria's government to their people living in South Africa has grown, although the violence between South Africans and Nigerians. To the moment, there are 12 people dead, two of them being foreigners, not from South Africa, nor from Nigeria. What we can say about this situation is that it's being thoroughly handled by the governments while Nigeria's government is asking to South Africa's government to pay for the incidents happen, although Nigeria's government is saying that they won't be able to help their people being repatriated to their land. Only thing they are doing and cooperation between the both governments is being that there are two flights fully booked for people injured by these accidents. Also, there must be said that the violations aren't being done by the authorities of South African government. We can say that they are being done by people complaining about the immigration processes. Also, we can say that the only statement that the spokesman from South Africa's president is that they are too really concerned about the violence that people is showing. Okay? So, all we have to say right now is that we have to keep in mind this situation as borderline tensions are growing. Thank you.
And apologize because I'm sick. But in international news, Trump dismisses his national security advisor for strong disagreements. And Trump said in his Twitter account, I informed John Bolton last night that his services are no longer required in the White House. I strongly disagree with many of his suggestions as well as others in the government, Trump said in a message of his Twitter account. And John Bolton said, I offered my resignation last night, and President Trump said, let's talk about tomorrow. Bolton said without giving further details. Bolton also insisted journalists that he was not fired and promised promised that he will give his version of what happened, according to journalists from the Washington Post of the New York Times. The already former security advisor was considered a key man along with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in Trump's effort to overthrow Maduro. In the future, we will know if Bolton was essential in the strategies against Venezuela, and we will know if he was fired or actually quit. What is clear is that these two have no disagreements.
Immigration problem has been in the world for many years, but it became stronger between Mexico and the U.S. when President Donald Trump became president. Silvia Giorgili, that is Colmex president, talks about it, and she says that now immigration is like a currency between countries when we talk about commercial trades. The clear example is Donald Trump talking about the 5% tax if we didn't reduce the immigration flow. Lucky for us, our Foreign Secretary Marcelo Ebrard last week said that this migration flow was reduced by 56%. So now, in his next meeting, that is next week, he can discuss about this tax with Donald Trump's people because we actually reduced that migration flow. But now the question is, how long is it going to stay like this? Is it going to increase again, or is it going to decrease again and have the same migration flow? And of course, we have to talk about how is this going to affect economy in US and also in Mexico, because immigration is a very important part of the US economy when we talk about labor. So we would have to see what happens next.
The new plan for the economic growth in 2020 has come up, and it's very, very optimistic. It states that we are going to be growing at a higher rate than 2%. Right now, we're below 1%, so it would mean that we have to be growing more or less to 100%. So certain indicators kind of are giving to us to analyze that possible growth. The first one, annual inflation. Right now, it's at 3.20. Mexican Central Bank has accomplished their goal, uh, but the inflation is not as easy as that. A lot of money is given, and a lot of that money is not making us any productiver, so any more productive. So it may change that rate. The other one that we need to check on is the the production, merely production. Mexico is not being productive. The no more new jobs, no more new fabrics, no more new investment for fabrics to continue to produce services, to continue to produce products. So the production in Mexico is already stagflated, not growth, zero growth. So there's the other one, and the exchange rate, which is very high at this moment. It reached 20 pesos for a dollar. That hasn't happened since President Donald Trump came to the US, and all the investors began to speculate about uh, the support that USA was going to give to Mexico. So we should consider that. Other things that are taken into consideration to say that this plan is very optimistic is the income, the house income. Uh, by assuming that we're going to be growing at a higher percent, at 2%, it could mean that the government is contemplating that each household would grow 3.7% in income. Uh, that is not happening, as I already told you, because no more new jobs, no more new fabric. So it's kind of the logical thing that fabrics or enterprises are going to pay more to their workers just because the president says that. With no production, with no more production, there is no more payment. Another thing that we should take into consideration here is the austerity plan that the government has come up since President López Obrador came into the office. Uh, so their their idea is to increase the government expenditures by a 0.9% uh, in comparison with last year, with 2019. So this would imply a reduction by 32% in agriculture, 38% in communications and transports, and a 36% in work. So there is not real basis or foundations to say that by cutting up the government expenditure, Mexico is going to be growing at a higher percent of two at a higher rate than 2%. And finally, what has already been one of the biggest indicators of why Mexico is growing at a low rate, the public investment. Um, the government has not made any new deals with foreign enterprises, and the ones that are already here in Mexico are very untrustful of the government, are with very low confidence to continue to invest, and what in their money that is already invested right now is just in stock. We can see that in the one of the largest enterprises in the world, the Volkswagen, Audi, enterprises like that have some bases here in Mexico right now are just lowering their production, and they are in their feet to see what's going to happen. So it is not very clear the growth. It is not very clear that we're going to be better next year than this year. And the expectations of this plan, as the government posted, is very optimistic, very untrustful. So we need to not fall into this kind of ideas that for next year we're going to be growing at a higher percent and the income would increase. Uh, in my opinion and my analysis is that if we want to make that happen, a lot of things have to change, and the president is not willing to make those changes. So I would see, and I'd be expectant to see what are their ideas to make this plan progress.